I've always believed that housing is a human right, but having a home is about more than four walls and a roof. Having a place to call home is about having a refuge, a place where your family can rest without worry, where you can recharge after a long day at work or school, where you can feel safe. I think that sense of safety we associate with home is what leaves us feeling so shaken whenever we learn in the news of someone lost to carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a true silent killer. It is colorless, odorless, but nonetheless deadly. You cannot taste it or smell it. You cannot feel it on your skin or see it in your home. All it takes is a few minutes of exposure to face serious risk to your health, like brain damage and eventually death. The most reliable way to avert a family to the presence, to alert a family to the presence of this poisonous gas is by having a carbon monoxide alarm in the home. A CO detector is not a luxury accessory for the well-to-do homeowner. It is a basic life-saving necessity that belongs in every home, and that includes public housing. Unfortunately, while the federal government requires federally assisted housing units to include smoke detectors, there is no requirement for carbon monoxide alarms, and that's unacceptable. New Jersey is one of the 27 states that require CO detectors in private dwellings, but the fact remains that HUD does not inspect for carbon monoxide alarms in assisted housing units. That includes not just public housing complexes for families and seniors, but all those private landlords who accept Section 8 vouchers for their tenants. This oversight leaves some of the most vulnerable neighbors at risk for carbon monoxide exposure. In fact, in 2019 alone, 4 public housing residents died from completely preventable carbon monoxide poisoning, and 2 of those deaths took place in South Carolina, a state that, like New Jersey, requires carbon monoxide alarms in every dwelling. We know that elderly seniors, disabled Americans, and young children, who make the vast majority of public housing residents, are already more vulnerable to the health risks associated with carbon monoxide. Likewise, it's no secret that nationwide, our supply of affordable housing is sorely in need of repair, and that aging units, faulty and old appliances, and deteriorating conditions heighten the risk of carbon monoxide exposure. But as we fight to make bold new investments in safe and affordable housing, there's no excuse for not taking action to save lives today. That's why I've co-introduced the CO Alerts Act with my Republican colleague, Senator Tim Scott. This bipartisan bill adheres to international fire code standards, meaning that alarms must be present to detect carbon monoxide emitted from an aging appliance, a forced air furnace, fireplace, and attached garage. I'm cautiously optimistic that the House of Representatives is going to take up and pass my legislation in the coming days. I believe maybe as soon as this week. This is a common sense bipartisan bill that will protect the most vulnerable, including public safety, and ultimately save lives. Indeed, in New Jersey alone, more than 300,000 people who live in HUD-assisted housing would gain federal protection from carbon monoxide poisoning if this legislation becomes law. Here's the bottom line. Carbon monoxide deaths are completely preventable, and in the 21st century, there's simply no excuse for it. I'm hopeful that both chambers of Congress will pass the bipartisan CO Alerts Act and send this common sense life-saving legislation to the President's desk for signature. No family should have to live in fear of a silent killer like carbon monoxide, no matter where they live, how much money they make, or whether they live in public housing.